Hi, welcome back, everybody. So today, just to remind you of the question we're asking you, and hopefully we can put up a couple of responses shortly, and it's all about the vaccination and what's been happening with the vaccines around the world. And we're seeing a lot of pressure mounting on certain working sectors in Europe as well as the United States to have compulsory COVID vaccination. So we're asking you, what are your views on the possibility of mandatory vaccination? You know, there's been talk in the education sector here in South Africa. I mean, in Europe, I know in different medical sectors, they have been speaking about making it compulsory, and also federal workers in the US. A decision should be made today by President Joe Biden. He's going to be speaking about whether or not it becomes compulsory to have everybody vaccinated in the federal employ, or that they can either get vaccinated or they've got a test basically every week to see if they have COVID or not. So quite interesting where the course of the world is taking. But that brings us to what's happening right now. And our President, Cyril Ramaphosa, is out and about, and he's expected to conduct oversight visits to two Gauteng vaccination sites to assess progress in our country's vaccination rollout program. So the President will visit a public health facility in Tembisa, as well as a private-public partnership centre in Midrand. SABC reporter Samkele Maseko is on that story. Let's cross to him now. Samkele, obviously the President not there yet, but this is that oversight visit and taking a look at how things are going. Good morning. What is it like there this morning?
At this point in time, Leanne, there are residents of Tembisa who have lined up here and who are in the queues sitting down to receive their doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm just going to ask my colleague, Bab Chapani, just to show you some of the residents gathered here in Tembisa at the Rabasutu Hall who are waiting to receive their COVID-19 vaccine. Earlier on, I saw a nursing practitioner, a nurse, speaking to them and saying that they will either be receiving 2 doses of Pfizer and then 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson. But we will bring in Mr. Tyrone Seale, who's the acting spokesperson of President Cyril Ramaphosa. As you can see, the residents are lining up. South Africa's vaccination program of COVID-19 is seemingly being ramped up by government after it received many criticism that those vaccines were seemingly not coming into the country. But as of when government opened up the vaccination registration for the 35-year-olds going upwards, those numbers picked up drastically as many South Africans went in to receive their COVID vaccinations. At the back, there is screening that is currently happening where the President will walk in with his convoy coming in on that particular gate, and he will be taken through the screening process and then ultimately to the earlier on vigils of those residents of Tembisa who were sitting on these chairs going to receive their jabs of COVID-19. Mr. Seale, it seems as if government is getting its ducks in a row when it comes to the administering of COVID-19 vaccines. The President is coming here. What is the basis and the thrust of the President coming to see this particular facility, and which vaccine is being administered at this facility?
Morning and thanks. I think as you say, the ducks are in a row, but more importantly, the people are in rows to receive this vaccine. The President is visiting here this morning, and he'll be in Midrand as well, as part of motivating South Africans to accept and receive vaccines as a safe and effective defense against serious illness, hospitalization and death. And we're very pleased that South Africans are beginning to make themselves available to receive vaccines. We've passed the 7 million mark, which is an important milestone in a population of 60 million people, and we are vaccinating people at a rate of around 1 million a week. So I think the President will be very encouraged when he gets here a little later this morning to see people in the queues, to see the level of organization here, and to see that increasing numbers of people, including in Tembisa, are protecting themselves against this deadly virus.
Mr. Seale, when you look at the issues of the criticism on this issue of the COVID-19 vaccines and them being administered, would you say that by the end of this year, we would have relatively reached herd immunity in South Africa?
I think that we are well on our way to population immunity in the country. The 7 million people who have been vaccinated so far, and that number will be ramped up significantly when younger people come on board as well in the form of 18 to 34-year-olds. Those 7 million are very important ambassadors for this rollout program. Their experiences of a vaccine that works, of a vaccine that's safe, that is comfortable to take, I think will motivate many others in the country to make themselves available. And so we're looking forward to a very high rate of vaccination across the nation by the end of the year. And I think it's something that all of us look forward to, and it's something that's being made possible through very close collaboration between government, the private sector and civil society at large.
Mr. Seale, your boss, the president, has an acting minister of health, acting minister in the presidency. Small businesses have been torched, have been looted in these very same areas of Tembisa as well and across the country. The minister of acting minister of health is the minister of tourism. The tourism industry has been battered through COVID-19. The economy is very sluggish. When are these ministers going back to their full-time duties, and when is your boss actually leading this country and reshuffling and putting in new ministers and dealing with the Minister of Health with that SIU report, which is before his desk? What is he waiting for?
Well, I think the question of executive appointments is a presidential prerogative under our constitution, so I think we can safely leave that to the president. As for providing relief to the economy and businesses large and small, the finance minister announced yesterday a very extensive and detailed package of support to businesses in all sectors, including tourism and including the township economy. So I think that we need to embrace that package. We need to give it a go. We need to ensure that the businesses access the relief that government is offering, and that relief is not unilateral. This is how government engages with the business sector through NEDLAC to ensure that we take into account all the forces at work on our economy, that we take into account all the solutions that social partners are tabling, so that we can have sustainable solutions to get us both through the aftermath of the violence we saw recently, but also so that we can return to that long-term project of economic reconstruction and recovery in the country.
How can we return to that economic reconstruction project of government when the Minister of Small Business and Enterprises is busy with issues of the acting minister in the presidency, instead of actually being the captain of the ship in restoring these small businesses that will create the much-needed jobs? That department is currently, if one may say, the captain of the ship is currently somewhere else and is not steering her own ship, yet small businesses are suffering.
I'm not sure that's a fair claim. The minister is engaged in two roles, and she's been part of the discussion that led to the formulation of the package that the Minister of Finance made public yesterday. So I think that it may be the case that, and I think in leadership in South Africa we've often seen that leaders are called upon to play more than a single role. But I don't believe that necessarily implies or involves neglect of any sort. I think that the ministers, including the minister in the presidency, are committed to the job at hand, and the urgency is there, and the detail of that response was made clear by the Minister of Finance yesterday.
Mr. Seale, just the last one before I let you go. Is the president scared to reshuffle his cabinet, or he simply doesn't have confidence in the ANC bench in Parliament, seemingly because, may his soul rest in peace, it's about a year since Minister Jackson Mthembu passed away now. The president has not exercised his presidential prerogative. Is he scared of ANC political machinations if he were to reshuffle?
I don't think the president is scared. There are many challenges in our country. There are many opportunities in our country, and the president has played an important role nationally, continentally, internationally in the past year in guiding us through the COVID pandemic, in stimulating economic growth, in inviting investment into our country. He hasn't been scared of any of those major undertakings. But ultimately, the question of executive appointments is his prerogative, and I'm sure he will exercise that as and when he deems fit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seale. I sure definitely hope to be an ear and a fly in that room once that cabinet reshuffle comes and those replacements come once the president exercises his presidential prerogative. There's an SAU report on the Minister of Health, Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, which is on the president's desk. It's about 3 weeks now since the president has had that SAU report. No action has been taken against Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, implicated in irregular awarding of tenders of digital vibes towards his close associates whom he worked with since his days as the MEC of Finance, MEC of Economic Development, Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Treasurer General of the ANC, and subsequently as the Minister of Health. Then you've got Khumbudzo Ntshabileng, the Minister of Small Business and Enterprises, who's also acting as the minister in the presidency, replacing, may his soul rest in peace, Babu Jackson Mjagajege Mthembu.
All right, Samkele Maseko, thanks very, very much for that update. And yes, indeed, good questions asked there, and certainly waiting anxiously to find out what happens with that whole digital vibes and reports into that and the future of the health minister. So, but nonetheless, the reason that Samkele is there at the moment is to follow the president, who's doing a vaccination site visit to Tembisa, and that's where we should be able to catch the president shortly. So, all right, stay tuned. We'll take that one live, no doubt.